Hello, this is Joe Pryor, the virtual real estate team in Oklahoma, where we specialize in new residential construction for investors in the Oklahoma City and the Tulsa markets. I have almost 100% of our business. I've put it into new construction. And that's curious for a lot of people. You know, why don't I buy something 20 years old or 30 years old? Or you have repos, for instance, things that I can buy really cheap. You have fix and flip. The reason why we don't do this is because, number one, the fix and flips don't really exist in our markets at this time. The Oklahoma City and Tulsa markets are extremely strong. The other thing is when you get into existing construction, especially when it's 20 or 30 years old, you're out of the lifespan of a lot of the things that you're buying. And so in other words, you're going to be out a lot of money in maintenance over a lot of years. And that is extremely important for your return on investment analysis because vacancy and maintenance are huge. So why new construction? Well, let's just start off that you have a uniform neighborhood with a homeowners association that helps control stupid things from happening. That's also very, very important. In top-level suburbs, outstanding school systems, and that you have something that's never been used before when you buy it. So in that first 5 years, you want to feel very confident that you're going to get an outstanding return. Now, a lot of things that we do, like I talked about in a previous video on being data-driven, making sure we don't overpromise and underdeliver. We hate vacancy, we hate maintenance. New construction is highly desirable for people that are moving into the Oklahoma City market or moving around the Oklahoma City or Tulsa markets. So that's a big thing, but also having warranties that you start out with. In other words, comprehensive 2 years on everything, and then 5 years on a lot of the items that are in the home. And so in those first 5 years, we can minimize your maintenance issue. And that's extremely important. And also energy efficiency is huge. If you take a 30-year-old home versus brand new, a lot has changed in terms of requirements, in terms of how efficient the heat and air has got to be. Remember that when you're buying in our markets, then the tenant is paying all the utilities, the water, the heat, the air, everything. And so for that particular reason, if we have an inefficient house and they got to pay a lot of money for utilities, like if it's $100, in a new construction for your air conditioning during the summer versus $400, that's going to make a real difference in retention of those tenants. That's also a very, very big thing. And so that is extremely important. The uniformity of the markets are extremely important. The brand newness, the open floor plans. These newer floor plans are wonderful in terms of people feeling like that square footage is even more expansive. There's every reason for you to look at new construction. And by the way, the fascinating thing about new construction in the Oklahoma City and Tulsa markets, there's not much difference between that and existing. There are two different buckets. In other words, existing properties in terms of the competition that's out there that's maybe driving up the price versus the cost approach of new construction, totally different things. And so I find minor differences. And so that ability to cut down on maintenance, cut down on vacancy is extremely important. We can give you outstanding turnkey operations here, outstanding returns on new construction. If this is interesting to you, get a hold of us, email us, contact us. We'll be happy to help you understand everything that we're talking about in detail.